How many times is there someone sitting right across from me who has the same feeling I have, and I don't know it yet because I haven't realized my own fear or joy or whatever it is. And so I don't recognize theirs. But it opened me up because, again, it stripped me down. It opened me up to the point where I could really hear them and know that I wasn't alone. Wow, what if I could do that every day? What if I could be so open every day that I would truly, really hear and see everyone who's around me?
Yes.
What we could all get from each other if we could do that.
In a world that feels more and more unpredictable, how do we stay grounded? I'm Colleen Akiko, welcoming you to this fifth and final segment of the series, Making Connections with Donna Apidone. How do we say yes to growth and transformation when uncertainty is what's showing up first? Join us in this conversation titled, Fear, a Stop Sign or a Doorway? We talk about embracing the unknown with heart, humor, and depth, finding grace in our moments of fear, and through all, experiencing the quiet power of connection. If you've ever felt like you're in over your head, this episode will remind you, you are right where you're meant to be, and we're glad you're here. You have obviously found yourself wearing all kinds of hats. You remind me of a house for sale not too far from us. And I don't know if the seller of the house was a hat manufacturer or if there were hats hanging on every wall in the house. I know that wasn't your house, but I'm sure you have a lot of hats that you have worn. I'm wondering, in this variety of expressions that you have been as a human, what backstories helped you to step up to wear yet one more hat and be one more expression?
By the way, when you said all these hats, I remember my grandmother used to read a story to me when I was very little about a kid. I think he was a kid, not an adult, whose name was Bartholomew.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of hats, and every time he'd take one off, there was another one. There was another one, and I hadn't really thought of it, but I think I've become Bartholomew. I retired. No, I didn't know. I'm doing this other thing. I know. So maybe I've become it. What backstories about myself, or what backstories that have inspired me?
Well, the ones that you hold dear that, okay, let's say you're in a position, which I'm sure you will be, where you're faced with yet another opportunity to take off the hat and see what hat is underneath that hat. What do you fall back on that says, yeah, this is okay. I know this because such and such has happened.
I won't say that every time anyone asks me to do something, I say yes. It's not quite that I'll say yes to everything. But there are so many things that people ask me to do that I've never done that before. I've never performed Peter and the Wolf before. I've never performed Casey at the before. I'm going to say yes. And then I say yes. And I did say yes to both of those. Then I say yes, and then I say, oh my God, what did you do? I feel completely like, oh, that was the biggest mistake I've ever made. I don't know how to do this thing. I don't know. But I've been doing that for so long.
Yes.
That now I know that I can say yes. And it's true, I have no idea what to do, but I will find out. I will find out what to do. I will figure out how to do it. I will learn to do it. And I mean, I know intuitively and internally what I'm going to be good at and what I'm not. If you asked me to run a budget for an organization, I'd say, no. But there are other things that I know that I can be good at once I get rid of the fear and once I learn a little bit more about it. I always feel like I've taken on more than I can handle. But I know that's not really the case. I know what I've really taken on is exactly what I can handle. And usually I think it's exactly where I should be.
Isn't that interesting that you have the opposites that both sides of the opposites are right there at the same time. And it's
They are.
okay.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like for me, when I'm faced with taking off the hat to see what other hat is underneath, I'll only take off the hat. And this is when I'm calm and able to breathe and not reactive. I'll have a sense of this is where the peace is. Even if it's an exhilarated peace and it's a very bubbly peace, it's still peaceful. It's still life-giving, and it feels like I'm going to be okay, you know? Even if I feel like I'm going to throw up at the same time, that this is where I'm meant to be. And for you, it seems like this has been your lifestyle. So this is what you're most familiar with, this kind of feeling, because you had it every day and all that you delved into, you know, was a lot of difficult stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes it's stressful for short periods of time. And sometimes it's fearful. You know, just when you think you have your act together and then somebody comes along and says, blah, 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 and you say, oh, no, I didn't know that about myself. Somebody told me something recently that ignited a fear in me. It took me a couple of weeks to look at the fear, get over the fear, move beyond the fear. And then I just felt so good. Just, I am so glad that terrible thing happened, because I needed to look in the mirror and see that. And that's sort of how I feel with what we're talking about now, that sometimes I think I've taken on a little bit too much, but it's exactly what I need because of what the process is, or because of the content of what I'm writing about, or, in addition to all this other stuff we've talked about. Every couple of months I'll write an article for one outlet or another that is somewhat of a profile of someone, but in that profile, it's something we can all do a little bit better and learn from.
Yes.
And so writing those are very fulfilling. And when they pile up and I say, I don't think I can do all of this. Oh, no, I need to interview that person because he or she has something to tell me that I haven't seen before. So that's the blessing of it. I mean, that's the high side of it, is that what sometimes seems a little too much for any of us, professionally or personally, as you said, it's there so that we can see the peace in it and we can see why we're here.
Yes, I just had an experience, I think it was all of yesterday, with technology-related stuff. And I'm like, why am I so triggered by this? It just shook me to the core. And I feel like perhaps I needed to be reminded. Maybe I have a team of angels and helpers on the other side of my physical veil. Maybe they're saying something like, oh, she thinks that she can pull this off as a mere human without anything beyond her talents or knowledge, and she needs a little bit of a nudge over the edge. Let's make everything go off at the same time or something, so she can realize how supported and loved she is. And that she doesn't need to do anything from that place. And when I open and just take a breath, whatever that looks like, I'm reminded there's this freedom that wells up, which I think might be what you were talking about at the end of your working through the fear, for a few weeks. I didn't know I needed to be free of such and such a thing, and yet I do need to be free of that. And so everything falls apart. I feel totally overwhelmed. I want to just crawl under the coffee table and hide for a while. And then I realize what I need to shuck off is just an illusion of a story of things and not really real. Then there's this freedom that sets me on my way. I'm sure you've been through your version of that many times.
Well, the frustrating thing was that there was a person who kind of held my hand and said, okay, let's just talk about this a little bit. But it was just a sort of a brief moment in these weeks of being afraid. But the other thing was that from that moment, for 2 weeks straight, I never revealed to anyone what the fear was.
Mm-hmm.
Never said anything about it. These people started coming out of the woodwork, coming to me and saying, "This weird thing's happening to me, and I've been so afraid, and I don't know where it's coming from." And it was exactly the same stuff I was afraid of.
Yeah.
You know, there were like 6 or 8 people in 2
Wow.
weeks who showed up and told me their stories that were almost a match for what I was feeling. The interesting thing about this is that, of course, those people were always there. They always had that fear. They always told somebody about it. It just wasn't me. How many times is there someone sitting right across from me who has the same feeling I have, and I don't know it yet because I haven't realized my own fear or joy or whatever it is, and so I don't recognize theirs. But it opened me up because, again, it stripped me down. It opened me up to the point where I could really hear them and know that I wasn't alone. Wow, what if I could do that every day? Not about fear, but maybe about something else. What if I could be so open every day that I would truly, really hear and see everyone who's around me?
Yes.
What I could get out of that, what we could all get from each other if we could do that. Here's something that I found in that 2 weeks. I didn't know about that I really needed.
It's a piece of paper.
Right. Do you know about the Dune Litany? The litany from-
I have heard about it. I have not read it.
I don't know if it's longer than the piece that I found, but I'm going to read you the few lines that I found from the book Dune.
Yes.
It's about fear, and it goes like,
Oh, I think I did hear this. Yeah, but go ahead.
"I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain." Yeah.
And the beautiful sense that every once in a while I get a glimpse of is that has already happened, and it is already so.
It has already happened. It already is.
Mm-hmm. A friend of ours, he's a tribal person, tribal leader, and he has led a native meditation. And the translation is, "It is already done."
Mm-hmm.
That has been home base. Yeah. I could feel those words you were reading coming through and moving in certain ways, but it wasn't taking me away from where I am, right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. And I ended up walking through those 2 weeks, and at the end of it saying, "I'm not afraid, and I will not run away."
Mm.
Because, as you said, it is already done.
It strikes me sometimes to just remember in the Hebrew and Christian Bible when the angels appear. Yeah, that's the first thing they say. It's like, I know this is really different, but don't be afraid.
You haven't seen a lot of angels in your life, but it's okay.
Yeah, everything's going to be all right.
And that's another great phrase I picked up. I have limited language skills, but there is a phrase that's popular in Italy that became especially popular during the beginning of COVID when northern Italy was hit really hard. But it's just, part of the lifestyle. It's andrà tutto bene. Everything will be all right.
Mm.
And what a nice way to be, because it's already done. So of course everything's going to be all right. Everything's already all right. We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, underneath these stories of what's going on, everything is fine.
Mm.
Yeah, and there's no thing about it. It's just only fineness, wellness.
Yeah. There was one other little backstory that I thought of as we were talking. I mean, we all have a zillion of them, and not a lot of them are coming to mind right now. And if they did, it would take all day. But I think by far one of the most enjoyable interviews I've done was with Madeleine Albright.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's like a year and a half or something before she died. When she died, somebody on her staff was interviewed on Morning Edition, and she said, the thing about Madeleine Albright was she always made you feel like you were the smartest person in the room, but really she was the smartest person. And I thought, well, I can't fulfill the second part of that. But why not go for the first part? How about if I decide that I will always make that person feel like they're the smartest, most important person in the room? The other thing was something that one of my teachers gave me, that whenever I'd say, I don't know, that's hard, he'd say, what if it isn't? What if it isn't hard? What if it's easy and you just haven't looked at it that way before? That changes everything.
It does.
Yeah, that's more of that quantum theory. When you look at it, it's not the same. So once you look at it as easy, maybe,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. What if the program that I thought I lost yesterday isn't really lost? And I found it last night.
See?
Along the lines of how we are all connected and we're all free to help each other along. Whoever that teacher is, though, in my mind, I call him Mr. What If. The first time I heard you speak publicly, you referred to him.
Did I?
You did. Yeah. You shared the stories of, but what if this? Oh yeah, but what if that? You were very...
Yes, I remember that now. Yeah.
And I had actually years prior to that written a song called What If, and I'm like, hey, I have a song about that. I better check into that a little more. And as I did, that has become a foundational part of everything. That perspective in whatever comes my way to be seen and dealt with and whatnot, because stuff can seem hopeless. It can seem beyond repair. But what if it's not? What if this horribly wounding thing is actually part of the medicine? The what if question itself, it's like a portal of words. And I have come to appreciate that so much. And you are the vehicle, the human, the channel that brought that back into my life. Well, and so I guess it kind of comes back to being willing and open to share what's come our way, grace in all its forms, what has helped us along. And when we share it and we're open to just be open, all these people come into our lives who tell us that they're afraid of the same thing that we're struggling with and things like that, which is so remarkable.
It's that balance. I'm going to struggle on one day, but then I'm going to see it. And I'm not going to struggle the next day. So it's that balance of knowing that everything that's happening is leading us in some other direction. You use the word seem somewhere in that sentence, S-E-E-M, that it seems to be. And every time I hear that word, I think, oh, that just means I haven't looked at it right. It seems to be this. If I look at it differently, it'll be something else. So that word is a nice one to listen for and do something with.
Yes, I'm hearing myself sometimes making these horrible declarations about myself or about a situation, and I'm like, whoa, rewind, delete. That's not what I want to declare at all. And not that I want to be just some robot about it, but I can feel it in my words when I'll say something that just is mean or wrangly or judgmental. And I'm like, did that just come out of my mouth? Whoa, I need to step back a minute and see what's up with that. And it doesn't disempower the intensity of what needs to be conveyed. But if I just put the word seems in there, that puts it in the proper perspective. It's where I need to live.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like getting out your flashlight and shining it on something.
Yeah. We can do that. I think that's why we're here.
It's the amazing part of it, that we have the capacity to do that. We don't as often as we can, but now that we know it, we can.
Yeah. Not because we have to,
Right.
but in some essential way, it's who we are. And that feels good. When we do it, we feel good. There's an inner recognition that happens.
Right.
Like, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Like finding a new little flavor of dark chocolate that we never tasted before. Must be getting close to lunchtime. I better let you go. I'm looking at the clock. I hope we get to do this again. This is so nice.
It's been a wonderful conversation. It's always a wonderful conversation with you. Even if we're not recording it.
It is. Yes. After we have these conversations, I just go around smiling for a while. It's
beauty
very uplifting,
isn't it? That's what I feel when I interview people. And now you know. Now more and more people, you know what that feeling is. It's good.
It's a good connection. And it's one that is limitless. Whoever hears this, whenever they hear it, wherever they are, in some mystical, wonderful way, it'll come to them. And they'll just be eating the chocolate with us.
It is already done.
It is already done. Yes, indeed. Donna, before we close this, would you please spell out the best way for people to connect with you? And I will say also that anyone who wants to know your latest and greatest or find how to connect with you and all these different expressions and courses and books and podcasts, etc., let's let them know how they can make that connection. So your website is?
My website is my name, DonnaApidone.com. The hard part of this for some people is to spell Apidone. It's fairly easy once you see it. It's A, P like Peter, I, D like David, O-N-E. So DonnaApidone.com has a contact page. You can send me a message anytime you want. It has information about what I've been writing lately, about transformation. There's a whole page about that. There's some information about drive time meditations. And there are recordings of interviews and things that I've done over the years, sort of a look back as well as a look at what's going on now. Yeah, I would love for people to contact me.
Yeah, I've enjoyed your website. It's
thank you.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's artsy. You know, it's
thank you.
Very. Yeah, I like it.
I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah.
Well, again, Donna, we'll look forward to what unfolds from here on out. But this was really, really rich and delicious. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Delicious for me too.
Thanks for listening to this episode about navigating change, embracing uncertainty, and finding peace on the other side of discomfort. What has your experience been in saying yes to unexpected roles? I find it comforting to know that reinvention isn't just possible, it's often necessary because what seems overwhelming may actually be our greatest teacher. This series, Making Connections with Donna Apidone, has highlighted how, when we open up, the world opens up to meet us. And we would love to connect with you. Reach out to Donna Apidone directly through her website, DonnaApidone.com, and to either or both of us through sonrise.live. And by the way, the bonus content page for subscribers has a special We Be the Change journal waiting for you, with self-reflective prompts from each podcast episode, including this one. And if you're interested in a Continuing the Conversation virtual group, just put CTC on the contact form at sonrise.live. So here's a tasty morsel to close this special series from Donna's Drive Time Meditations. The actual meditation is 3 to 5 minutes long. Enjoy. This is Colleen Akiko wishing you many blessings and many loving connections.
Peace is the quiet place between the extremes. Peace is the middle ground. As you become centered, you feel peace.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of We Be the Change. We hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. We'd love to hear your thoughts and send you a surprise gift in appreciation for your time and for your interest in being the change. Just head on over to songrise.live. That's SONGRISE.LIVE. Go to the contact page and tell us which episode you just heard and any feedback that you might have. We'll respond with a gift just for you. And while you're there, check out the other resources, songs, and subscription choices with their bonuses too. Also, thank you in advance for your podcast ratings and reviews. These help us greatly. So until next week, this is Colleen Akiko, appreciating that you showed up here with us to be the change.